Hello and welcome back, Pontiac High School. This is going to be part 2 of our lesson on government and the state. In part 1, we looked at what government does and what government is. We talked about the powers of government and different types of government that exist. We also looked at the state and the 4 qualifications to be considered a state. Today, we're going to be getting into some major political ideas and then be talking about the purpose of government. For centuries, political scientists, that is, people who study government, have wondered about the origins of the first states and the circumstances that brought them into being. That is, that they try to figure out why we have states, why we have governments, why did these things exist in the first place? And these scientists, these political scientists, have developed 4 main theories that provide an explanation to how governments and states have come into existence. The force theory is one of those ideas. The force theory states that the strongest or most organized members of a society can take control by force. Okay, that is, strongest being the most physically strong can simply intimidate their way into power, or the most organized, those who really know how to strategize and find resources and provide those resources for others, can forcefully take over. The second idea is the evolutionary theory, and that is that states themselves evolved out of a family structure. So the families that were the most successful reproduced the most, had the most kids, and grew up in the largest, most cohesive society. Well, whoever was the head of that family became the head of the society as a whole. So if you had a particularly large family and you were, in most cases at the time, the eldest male within that family or within a particular branch of the family, then you were in charge. Monarchies kind of come out of this idea. Another one is the divine right theory. The divine right theory is the idea that an individual was selected by God to rule, that they were ordained by a higher power, that God wills it, and so it must be. That is a divine right theory to who is in control of a government. Now, within the United States and within modern government systems, the most common seems to be the social contract theory. And this is what we ascribe to here in the United States. This holds that people willingly give up their power to another group. Okay, that we have power, and we willingly give it up to another group. We say, you can have all of our power to make these broad decisions for us. And we give that up to a group that has promised to use that power and act in the best interests of the society as a whole. In our case, we pay taxes to this particular government. That government then exists to serve the people. So it's a trade-off. I will give you power to do the things that you need to do, but you have to serve me with that power. This is the idea behind the creation of the United States. This is our idea of government. We give up our taxes and we give up many of our duties to the central government, and that central government then acts in our best interests. So that is our government, as opposed to force, evolutionary, or divine right theories. All right, the purpose of government. Why do we do this? I apologize, my computer is acting a little slow, which has caused a bit of a delay here. Okay, purpose of government. As a servant to the people, the United States government was created for 6 specific purposes. That is, our government exists to do 6 things for us. And these are outlined specifically in the United States Constitution. It is the very first part of the Constitution, a section that we call the preamble to the Constitution. One of the things that it promises to do is create a more perfect union. That is, join together our independent states, because we had Rhode Island and Massachusetts and Georgia and New York and Virginia, all these independent states. We wanted to put them together into one united organization, one United States state. So our states, a state like Michigan, is not technically a state. We don't have sovereignty. Therefore, we're not a state. We gave up our sovereignty to the United States government. That government then promises to create a more perfect union. and that we can all act together more effectively to address common interests and common issues. Another promise of our federal government is to establish justice. That is, to establish laws that treat all citizens fairly and equally without bias or prejudice. This is a promise of our federal government, something that they try to do. Obviously, throughout a lot of US history, they failed at this pretty miserably. You can think back to the treatment of African Americans and Native Americans in particular. But we have gotten a lot better at establishing a justice system that is fair and equal, although, of course, we still have bias and prejudice, and we're working on that. Ensuring domestic tranquility is the idea that we want a peaceful society, the idea that we will be peaceful, safe and secure within our borders, that you don't need to be afraid to walk outside of your house at night. Herein is the idea of law and order, that we will have these police forces and we'll have laws that will govern the behavior and punish the criminals within our society. Next up, we have providing for the common defense. This is protecting ourselves from foreign countries, protecting ourselves against attack from other nations. Despite the fact the United States is now a very powerful nation, the world remains dangerous. There are other powers out in the world that might wish to do us harm, and there is, of course, the present threat of terrorism. Promoting the general welfare is the fifth of these goals. This is to ensure that the American citizens have their basic needs met, and that our government or our employers won't abuse us. These are basic health and welfare needs. To this end, we have things like Social Security, we have things like the welfare system. All of those exist to promote the general welfare. The final goal of our government, as stated in the U.S. preamble to the Constitution, is to secure the blessings of liberty. This is basically to make sure that once our freedoms exist, our government will not take those freedoms away, so that we can enjoy them for the rest of our lives and our children can enjoy them as well. So the entirety of the United States preamble is we, the people of the United States, in order to form a more perfect union, establish justice, ensure domestic tranquility, provide for the common defense, promote for the general welfare, and secure the blessings of liberty to ourselves and our posterity, do ordain and establish this Constitution for the United States of America. Those are the goals of our country. That is why our government exists. Thank you for joining me for today's lesson. I hope you learned something, and farewell.